my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. I deeply desire to expand, to experience, to know, to understand, to control, to use such greater energies and energy systems as may be beneficial and constructive to me and to those who follow me. I deeply desire the help and cooperation, the assistance, the understanding of those individuals whose wisdom, development, and experience are equal to or greater than my own. I ask their guidance and protection from any influence or any source that might provide me with less than my stated desires.
I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family and explorers of consciousness. I am the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting live from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void live. Excuse me, here on the Fringe FM. And we got a really late start, so I apologize about that. Lots of stuff been going on this weekend. And as you can see, if you are watching the show on YouTube, I have bags under my eyes. I've been trying to battle a little bit of a illness here, but we're going to push on through this. Again, I think the biggest deal, kill the music, would you? I think the coolest thing, the coolest announcement that we have would be that Gareth woke up, right? So Gareth woke up from his bed, who seemed down for the count in the hospital, and he decided that he was going to get mad at some aliens, wake up, and come back to us. And that's no joke. I'm not saying it was real, but he did tell me that he had some kind of experience or vision or experience as he was regaining consciousness in the hospital, that he was pissed at some aliens, kind of as he was fading in, right? So there's the old fade to black, which a lot of people talk about, which doesn't really exist. That's an illusion. But as he was fading back into consciousness, into this realm, Gareth, our friend and Void Walker, had an experience with, I guess, whether it was a hallucination or not, it was still an experience that he was very angry at some aliens. What's up, Word Salad? What's up, Barefoot Hippies? Michael and Awakening with KM Marie. What's happening? So we do this live every Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I was down for the count last night. There was no way I was going to do a music show, but I just love doing this stuff so much that it takes a lot for me not to do it. So I'm just now starting to feel better. And we got to do this for Gareth. We got to finish this damn book. So some of us have received our Magic Scrying Tatwa cards from the Fringe FM store. I am so stoked about that. And it takes a while to get them because they're print to order. But these are just conscious explorative tools that we can use to astral project, but also there's actually several different things we could do with these cards, which I can't wait to release the audios about them in the Patreon store and in the Fringe FM store for those that get the cards. Now, I have been asked, can't you just download an app or something and stare into your phone? Yeah, you can do that. But I would say this, set and setting is everything when it comes to conscious exploration. So if you have, say, a prayer table or an altar box, and you have a card stand, you could set all kinds of, I can show you a really cool setting with the altar box with these Tatwa cards, by the way. I think it's better, especially if you're flanking it with candles or you're using white paper or something like that. It just gives it more of an experience as you go into the visions. Check those out at the Fringe FM store. What's up, Barney? Yeah, Gareth is back, brother. What's up, Genevieve? Was worried about you. Yeah, the Gareth is definitely back. Everybody was worried about him, actually, because he was under for a little bit. Now, I do want to talk about just real quick, the Terrence Howard interview on Joe Rogan. I thought was amazing, even though that it's a controversial subject, because the guy's got some stuff that I really think is kind of like trying to define what 0 is and 1 and all that stuff. To me is redundant. Who cares? To me, it's like talking about, is the earth round or flat? It just seems monotonous to talk about it. But the toroidal fields that he showed about how Saturn how it produced itself, particularly, and no pun intended, with geometrical shapes and air pressure and all the stuff that he was talking about. Toroidal fields, basically. Claude Swanson talks a lot about this too, and how it replicated Saturn exactly without the use of gravity. Kind of tells us that the universe is possibly electric, which we've been talking about for quite some time. And to hear him use the phrase charge and discharge, which we over here on this side of the swamp have been saying those phrases for a while, feels good. It means that, to me, consciousness is kind of leveling up amongst everybody, right? It doesn't matter if you hear someone else talk about something that you talked about or whatever. It's kind of like Rupert Sheldrake's theory, right? So once we break a record or achieve something in consciousness, it tends to kind of come up across the whole board. So to hear these subjects once again being talked about on an even deeper level on the Joe Rogan podcast was pretty cool. All right, so let's finish this thing. Now, I cannot say that I will read another book by Wes Penry, but we are going to finish this one for sure. Yeah, it was very interesting. What's up, Bryce? Did I miss anybody? Probably not. All right. So let's see. Where do we leave off? It seems like someone woke up out of a dream and read my book here and moved my marker. Orion's Dilemma. Now, when I read this stuff, you have to understand it's just me reading and commenting. I'm sure people's attention spans are small, or they're cooking or whatever. So when you dip in and you hear me reading something that sounds ridiculous, doesn't mean I agree with it. But whatever. So he's talking about Orion's dilemma. So although a handful of humans have I probably should tell you, this is the Orion Book 1 by Wes Penry. We're getting towards the end of it, though. We're on chapter 17. So, although a handful of humans have the information so far on how to exit the Matrix, the great majority of the world population will probably not get close to this book or the West Penry Papers in their lifetime, being too caught up in earthly things. This is a dilemma not only for those people, but also for us who wish everybody could exit, and for Orion. And this next part is called, wait for it, Hell on Earth and Humankind as Proxies. Y'all tired of this fear crap mongering yet? It's going to end. I would say there are no mother issues in what the Gnostics call the pleroma, the way I've come to understand things. Therefore, mother issues were something that developed within our own universe after Sophia created it. It is obvious that Inky, just like us, has his own mother issues. We can see that now when we have an idea of how narcissism is created and how it develops. Inky is the arc example of this. So far, it seems like Carl Jung has been the only person in the field who recognized the archons as being archetypes for how we humans develop. Sophia, even as an aeon, is not perfect. She is a creatrix, and her purpose is to bring wisdom. When she created this universe in her mind and breathed it out, and manifested it in what we call the spirit universe, or the Ka, or the void, or ether. She had no idea how this was going to develop. It was a completely new experiment with endless uncertainties. And yes, you should be asking yourself, how does he know all this? It was a completely new experiment with endless uncertainties. We humans, because we have God complexes on top of mother complexes, think that God or the goddess must be perfect, just like our earthly parents are perfect in the child's eyes, even when they are not. I think I got past the idea of my parents being perfect around age 8. If Sophia and her manifestation as the queen of the stars was perfect, then why create the universe? She would already know the outcome. There's no need to create it at all. Sophia, aka the queen, learns just like we do. We tend to put each other and the deities on pedestals, which is always detrimental. Sophia is the creatrix, and she is pure spirit, but that's all she is in relation to the universe, which is created to self-propel itself in different directions, all of it being experiences. Whether we consider these experiences good or evil, it's just experiences. This doesn't mean we should accept evil if we don't want to live within the consequences of it. Under normal circumstances in the Ka, we can avoid it and continue our creative work somewhere else in the vast universe. Here on Earth, we don't always have that option. Uriel, spelled with a U. Uriel, spelled with a U. Well, I'm doing this for Gareth, so you don't have to stick around. Uriel is an archangel who is created differently than other souls, who are born within soul groups. They are of the spirit universe, but they are not creator gods in the sense humans are, or in the sense Orion souls become creator gods over time. Archangels are what they are. They don't evolve or feel other purposes. They can, for example, control the elements around them, which the egregores, I will agree with him on that. The egregores of that is true. At the very least, right? In my opinion. So, the egregores, meaning just, and I'm not saying angels aren't real. I explained this in a different show, but think about it like this. When we come, so if we have a collective consciousness or unconscious or whatever, and this is the place where we all come together, right? We all come together and we're all here. When we're in our separate bodies, we're still together in the astral realm or wherever you want to call it. So when we all decide on something, let's just say, let me try to explain it like this. Like day one in the beginning of time as humans, when we all point our finger at something and say, this is this, and we agree on it. So say we all, so to speak, or so mote it be, or whatever you want to say. that gives it a little bit of vitality in this realm. It gives it a little bit of life in this astral, whatever, etheric realm, collective consciousness. And then as time goes on, if we continue to believe these things, and the more and more of us continue to say this is that it is, just like I am that I am, it becomes greater. The power of it gets greater and greater and greater. So if archangels are an idea that has lasted, let's just think about this like, I don't know, theoretically, without the religion. If archangels are a concept that has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, right? That means billions of people have agreed on them and claimed like, okay, this is the angel of this is the angel of that, and so on and so on. Then it's really powerful. So here's the question. I know this as like, personally, that when I invoke the elemental angels, they work. Is that because I'm just Joseph Daniel Roop is this massively powerful person? No, it's because it was there already. So does that mean it's real? Like in the realest sense, you have to start asking yourself, at least I do, that doesn't really matter. Because we're not here to define reality, if you think about it. Even if we created these egregores, they're here for us. Whatever stigma you want to put onto archangels, it doesn't matter. If it works, it works. This is why I respect the chaos magicians to a point. To a massive point, actually. So Wes is speaking in this book about archangels as if they are ultimate reality. And I'm telling you, whether they are or they aren't, these energies work. Thus, they can manipulate the elements on a star, a planet, and elsewhere. It's my understanding that the archangels were created before other souls, and the Queen used them and still uses them as her helpers in the creation process. Uriel was the head of the archangels, and as such, he was the crown of the universe, only second to the Queen for a long time. He was born proud, entitled, grandiose, and with certain other narcissistic traits. But when the Queen created him, she probably considered these traits necessary for his task as the archangel of archangels. No. You have to wonder what kind of insider gave him that information. Just because he had those properties, they didn't automatically make him what we call a narcissist. We're not going to get through one chapter without this dude talking about narcissism. This dude is hurt, man. Narcissistic traits can be used benevolently, too, although they are harmful when it comes to human clinical narcissism. When Uriel's pride was threatened, he did not take that fondly. He knew he was at the top of creation, the firstborn, and no one had the rights to challenge his authority. We know what happened later, leading to Uriel's or Lucifer's fall, which, whatever, you can call that what you want to, right? And what followed up that, but we can also see it all originates in mother issues. Could the Queen have done things differently? So this would never had happened. He says, yes, I believe she could. Maybe it was a mistake to create Uriel the way he was created. And perhaps it was a mistake to treat him the way he was treated because of his personality. But this is something we and the Queen can only reflect upon in hindsight. Again, as we see, in my opinion, Wes projecting the story of his pain into these archetypes and calling it ultimate reality or truth. And I will continue that notion until you provide us with proof of what you're saying before you start trying to tell all humans about ultimate reality. It's a mistake, brother. You shouldn't do it. We humans make mistakes as well that we wish we hadn't made in the process of learning. And some of us admit to it, learn from it, and move on, while others blame others. When we make mistakes, we need to deal with the consequences. It's the only reasonable thing to do. The same applies to the Queen and anyone else on her creator team. Everybody involved in all this is responsible in their own way and needs to take that responsibility, and each one of us needs to take our part of it by first figuring out what that part might be. Ask, in other words, what he's saying is ask not what your queen mother can do for you, but what you can do for your queen mother. Michael, are you on the road? Yeah, I'm glad he's doing better too. I got some other reading material he sent me that I think is really, really good, by the way. But I have to make sure it's okay I read it. Although manipulated, we humans have created our own hell on earth in our codependent ways. We've talked about how Inky has imposed his idealization and interjected on humankind, adjusting us to fit his inner image of how we should be. Ancient texts such as those from Mesopotamia and Babylon tell us that Inky, our creator, loves his children. This is also something the New Age and alternative communities have taken to heart. I hope for God's sake, when I'm done with this, that people, when this book is over, anytime people start talking about archons or slave gods or stuff, they'll be so tired of hearing about it, it won't matter anymore. Because look, man, even if there is archons and slaver gods and all that stuff, you're still in this situation. So now what? Do something about it. Shut up. Right? You're blaming the New Age stuff on Inky. It is not untrue, albeit he loves us as a narcissist loves his partner and his children as extensions of himself and not from his heart. It's only self-fulfilling love. The narcissist needs to get something out of it for himself, always. Well, let me ask you guys a question. I think this, if you love somebody, you're always getting something out of it when you love somebody. I mean, I don't know about women, okay? I'm just telling you, as a man, I think that if I love somebody, my idea as a masculine is to give all of my love, everything that I have, right? But am I doing it to get something out of it? Well, of course I am. If that wasn't the case, then I would just give all of my love to a rock or a brick or air. I mean, if you give all of your love to something, it's because you love it. You love its presence. You're getting its presence out of it. If you love a person because you love that person, regardless, this is so close-minded. As much as this guy is talking about stuff, this is so close-minded, it's crazy. Love is a two-way street. Real love, both parties are getting something out of it all the time. So if you're upset because another person is loving you because they're getting something out of it, you're thinking about it all wrong to begin with. Just all wrong to begin with. Right off the bat. All you're doing is protecting your damaged heart, which is going to damn you to begin with. The truth is if you don't give all of your love and take a risk and really, regardless of what happens, you are going to be damned. Right? Give all of your love and receive. Give and receive. The word cabal and Kabbalah, cabal or Kabel or QBL means to receive. So maybe this dude has a very deep problem with receiving love and is projecting it onto people that only receive his love because he doesn't know how to receive. I know, I've been there before. But damn, man, just bask in it. Does people understand what I'm talking about here? 46 and 2, that's right. Hell yeah. That's perfect. Stop blaming the gods and just love. And if somebody gets something out of it, that's great. What do you mean? You don't want someone to enjoy your company or enjoy what you're giving them or be there because they're getting something? Like, what the hell are you even alive for? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. It's like the ultimate victimhood thing, you know? It's only self-fulfilling love. The narcissist needs to get something out of it for himself, always. He does not see us as separate entities, just as objects that he can treat as he pleases because we're not real. Well, that's psychopathy. That's not really, that's a totally different thing. This becomes extra complex because we live in a simulation, a computer game, from Inky's viewpoint. I'm sure our bodies or avatars are just vehicles to move around with, so he doesn't care much about what happens to our bodies or if we feel pain. He looks at things from a loftier perspective outside the game, also being the creator or programmer of the same. To him, our spirit body is what's important because those are what he's going to use when he invades Orion. Overall, he probably cares very little about our soul and mind. He doesn't need that because he has his own soul and mind. Thus, in the long run, he does not need ours. Hopefully, Wes's shields are up, Genevieve says, right? Like, he's got his shields on like DEFCON 10. Okay, Wes, I'm with you. Let's me and you pretend something for a second. Let's play a game. Let's pretend like there's no God whatsoever. None. Zero God. Your body is going to live and die. You don't know if you have a soul or not. Let's be real. You might have explored consciousness enough to figure this out, but you don't really know if you have a soul or not. Now, are you mad? Your body feels pleasure and your body feels pain. Your heart feels happiness and it feels sadness. Your mind feels certainty and it feels uncertainty. You feel love and you feel fear. No gods. Let's just say it's all fade to black when you die. Now, are you angry? Think about it. Somebody comes along, they enjoy your company, you get in some fights, you don't vibrate the same, they move on, they don't enjoy your company, you feel rejected. No gods, no religions, no inkies, no creators, no aliens. Are you mad? Does it hurt? Why does all of this other stuff have to take a role? This is crazy to me. I have never seen projection like this in my entire life. He needs our real bodies, but before he can't take them and use them, he must first conquer our minds. Inky has a love-hate relationship to us. He loves us because of his own grandiose self-righteousness of having created us. In his mind, we are his creations, his children, but also extensions of himself. When we misbehave, he takes that very personally, as a part of himself that is not perfect, and that angers him, just like it does with any narcissist or psychopath. Or how about just like it does any father that had children, since the 80s. That's what you're explaining is any dad that cares about their kid since like the 80s back. Listen to this again. He loves us because of his own grandiose self-righteousness of having created us. In his mind, we are his creations, his children, but also extensions of himself. Naturally, children feel like extensions of yourself sometimes. They do. When we misbehave, he takes it personally, as a part of himself that is not perfect and that angers him, just like it does with any narcissist and psychopath. Right? Okay. There's a big jump from, regular, like, I don't say unhealthy parenting to narcissistic and psychopath. We are, dude, like we have become a society that throws around these words so much now. We have psychologized stuff so much that we could take a normal, like my dad's this way. My dad is not a psychopath. He might have some narcissistic tendencies, like some self-fulfilling tendencies like all humans do, but he's not a full-blown narcissist. But to like I don't know about parents nowadays, but if you're my age, or let's say in your 30s, I don't know, 35 to 55, what he's explaining here is the father figure. Sounds like it all just ain't mommy issues, is it? Okay. Hence, he loves us when we follow our destiny, the path he has paved for us, and he hates us when we digress. Look at this. Michael Domek says, 25 years and still have my, what is that? Let me see. Let me pull this up because I'm trying to read it from the TV. 25 years and I still have my Aries twin flame. Hell yeah, Team Aries, man. Always growing, learning, and pushing forward together. I've been very fortunate in love. Most definitely give 100%, especially during hard times. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, Michael is not thinking about what have you done for me lately. He loves with all his heart. This is how it works. Okay. So I'm beginning to think, this is just my opinion, but I'm not a therapist, but I'm beginning to think that this is how Wes Penry's doing his shadow work by telling us all that Inky, Uriel, and all of these people are the father figure, basically. And Sophia, the mother figure, is gone. And apparently, I wonder if Wes had been smothered by his father or his bad feelings towards his father. Over the millennia, he has corrected us when we divert, often violently. Through his proxies, the global elite, he has done what he can to keep us in his fold, and altogether we have followed our destiny fairly well. The Palladians once said that the gods are sometimes annoyed because humankind can be unpredictable, but that's what Inky tries to put an end to by gathering our consciousness inside the cloud and trap us in a new simulation or metaverse. We humans have created a hell for ourselves by conforming and being law-abiding citizens, following the unfair rules and regulations set by those we have stupidly elected to do our biddings. Well, change it. There's nowhere in this book where he says, yeah, I got up the next day and I went and found all the elected officials in my community. I went and talked to the people in my community. I found out who all was elected in my community and what was going on wrong in my community so that I could change things in my community. So that ripple effect would therefore ripple out and change other communities, as an example. See, that's the effective way to change stuff. But no, we're just dumb and stupid, and we elected the wrong people and they took advantage of us like a pure narcissist would. Right. Well, maybe you just didn't do your homework on who you elected. That's not everybody's fault. Even though most people can clearly see that our elects only do their own bidding, we keep voting for them. Well, and if we think they have misbehaved, we vote for someone else next time, thinking it will be better. But has it really gotten better? Still, we continue voting. Stupidity is defined as making the same mistake over and over, hoping for another outcome. Is that how you define stupid? Let's look this up. Definition of stupid. I really, Wes, don't want to, I'm having a hard time taking your word for things. Actually, the definition of stupid is having or showing a great lack of intelligence or common sense. So your definition is wrong. Humankind has a lot of waking up to do. Unfortunately, time is running out. Time's running out. We have conformed to Inky's plan to such a degree that we police each other and ourselves to get everybody in line, afraid our neighbor is going to report us if we do something outside the norm, or we are afraid to be treated like outcasts without friends and a support system. The overlords don't need to do much these days. We are doing the entire job for them. And we're good at keeping each other in check. Do you think there's a slight chance that this guy, that this guy really knows the truth of all this, and he's just saying this to this community, like making this whole story up to get a point across in a different way? Like he knows it's bullshit. You think that's possible? Like this whole thing is kind of like a manipulation? Let's see. Humans have a trauma bond with authorities. We don't always agree with them, but we also think we need them for our survival. They have become another parental figure. In whatever direction we look, we are treated like children, so we have become like children. There are parental figures everywhere in control. There are parents everywhere. And we let them because we no longer think we can make it on our own. These controllers, in their turn, have parental issues. Oh, shit. So the question is, if that's the truth, then why doesn't Mother Orion stop this all? So we're in a sad situation, which puts Orion in a great dilemma as well. Is there anything Orion can do? And if so, what? I don't know what their current plans are, but I discussed this matter years ago with someone from there. Did you know? I was told they obviously can't come in a spaceship as our saviors or our governments who work for Inky. This would tell their people we are being invaded by aliens and humanity would gather globally as one great army to fight off this off-planet invader force or their own allies. And Orion can't start a war against the overlords either because that would also destroy us. Regardless, one fact remains, and that's something the raw material talks about as well, which is a cry for help. If the human soul group would cry out for help, there would be more options for Orion to intervene, apparently. The help we have asked for so far has often been directed toward God, which in this construct is always Inky. I know it sounds unfair that we must ask Orion for help when most people don't know about Orion, but again, it has to do with the free will and how we direct our energy. Orion did not like what Dr. A.R. Borden did, for example. See the West Penry papers, The First Level of Learning. The first level of learning. Think that's also, he's got levels, like belts of learning. So you get white belt level of learning, yellow belt level of West Penry learning, orange belt. When he tried to negotiate with the matrix gods on humanity's behalf without asking humanity what we want, it's a break of free will. Therefore, it's important that we humans express what we need and want, or an attempt to help us would most likely fail. Using an analogy, let's say you have a nice home and a family you have worked hard for. It's your safe and secure space, and you have a job to support yourself and your nearest and dearest. You feel you are settled in here in the matrix for the most part, despite the harshness and unfairness in the world. Then someone says they need to save you, take you from your home, your work, and your false security, and place you somewhere in a foreign country you know nothing about. Would you welcome them and agree to their seemingly senseless demand? This largely makes Orion's hands tied for now. I know they are working on solutions, but I am unaware of where they are in the process. I'm going to do a poll after this book, right? For sure, to see if there is anybody that is buying this shit. Two main things humans want are safety and security. It's a tough world to live in, so we all do our best to find methods to feel safe and secure, and we find our own ways to do that to the best of our abilities by coping. Because of our common unstable emotional situation, the last thing most people want is interference from an extraterrestrial force we know nothing about. In a universe based on free will, the individual must take a lot of responsibility for the universe to move forward. And that's just the nature of it. It doesn't always seem fair, and it can't always be. A way out of here has been presented to us. The whole answer to this whole thing is go through a hole in the earth grid. Gareth, brother, I love you so much, man. But this, in my opinion, like I'm really trying to push to finish this book. But this, in my opinion, bro, is got to be one of the biggest victimhood manuals of all kind. Representing itself as actual reality, selling itself as ultimate truth, and selling itself as a savior to you. Think about it, man. Just think about this for a second. If you really knew this was real, right? If you really knew this was real, would you just write a book? Like, let's say an alien talked to you or something, okay? And you really knew this was real, and you cared about humanity as much as you say you do, as much as you're preaching about narcissism and all the things that hurt you, and you care about humanity as much as you really say you care. Would you really write papers with different black belts of learning and a few books? Is that all you would do? Like, it just doesn't make sense. The ultimate answer to the whole equation, to that hurt person inside of you, is when you die, escape through the hole in the matrix. End of story. Pathetic. It's pathetic. It really is. Is it true that the overlords are pulling the strings on this construct and on us, but we are the ones doing the job for them? Without our participation, they would get nowhere. They have taken control over our emotions and our actions these days, and they are mostly reactions. That's such a cop-out, too. And nowadays, people talk about, like, if you react to something, that it's bad. Well, let me ask you this. If I stab you, do you react to that? Right? If I stabbed, like, if I just poked you with a pin, would you react? Ow. That's, I don't know. I guess that's human. It's normal humanity. Okay? So if I smacked you in the face, would you react? Most humans would. Fight or flight. Or they'd say, ow. One of the two. So if someone does something to you emotionally and you react, then that means you're controlled by a matrix? No. It's how you react. This is dumb. We don't. So anyways, here we go. Back to the victimhood. But just like we have created our own hell here, we are also the ones who can uncreate it. Finally, some common ground with me. We don't do that by demonstrating outside the White House, for example, but by healing our inner wounds. It's not about regaining our rights in the physical world as much as it is to regain control over our minds. How does he do this, man? Like, how does he do this? Thanks. I'll make sure Gareth gets that, brother, whenever that money comes in. And it will come in like months from now. But when it does, I'll make sure he gets it. I'm sure he appreciates it, man. If we accomplish the latter, we also accomplish the first. How does he do this? Like, he'll say the most victimhood stuff I've ever heard in my entire life and then turn around and say something I agree with. Thus, our main efforts must not go toward gaining freedom in this realm because that won't happen. This simulation is programmed to create pain and death. Jesus, man. This simulation, by the way, is only programmed to create pain and death. That's it. Have any of you experienced anything in this life other than pain or death? No? No pleasure? Nothing? No happiness? No love? Just been constant pain and death. I must be missing something. I must have been tripping the whole time I'm here. I thought it was kind of one or the other based on, action and reaction, kind of like Chris is saying. The simulation is programmed to create pain and death, and unless we get access to Saturn and off-planet technology we don't understand anyways, we can't change the rule set of the game. I take it this guy didn't play sports. This is not the time to regain control over Earth. It's a matter of leaving a matrix that is not our home, but a place for a group of Orion rebels to groom a soul group to the point where we are willing to attack our own true creators on the false creators' behalf and destroy ourselves in the process. I mean, damn, like this guy acts like we're already in Battlestar Galactica right now, doesn't he? Like that we are in Battlestar Galactica right now, and the Cylons are taking over right now. I bet you money, Wes, if I threw you in a ring with anybody or in a team of anybody and said, here's your job for the team. It's going to require you some effort. And you're going to feel good when you accomplish your job, and you're going to hurt when you don't, and you're going to make mistakes. Like, a lot of people say sports is like for, it's a distraction or whatever. But I played sports my whole life, and it was fun. Distraction, maybe a little bit. But some of the things that it taught me, I would have never thought this way. I would have never thought this way. Lots of painful things in your life can cause you great happiness, man. You go to the gym every day and you pump iron every day. You work out your muscles every day. And then you feed your muscles every day. And about 8 months of pain, you're going to see something magnificent. You're going to feel something magnificent. Right? What does that mean? What if any of you guys that are watching this ever played sports or been in a fight with your brothers of any kind? There was a lot of pain that went through it, but you made it out on the other end victorious. Now, that victory doesn't mean shit to the world, but to you, just to survive it with your brothers means everything. To win, to everybody do their jobs and overcome. Like, what I'm saying is I think there's no, like this guy has thousands of pages of papers explaining ultimate reality. And he is pushing this idea that this realm is nothing but pain and death. Like, we just got to get out of here, man. We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here, man. We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. We just got to leave. You know what I mean? We got to get out of here. This place sucks, man. Narcissists everywhere. Goddamn. There's narcissists all over the place. They're falling out of the skies, narcissists. Not only that, the damn God itself of this place is a psychopathic narcissist, just like my daddy was. And we got to get out of here. And like every woman I've ever dated, I just can't trust because they all just ditch me and leave me. And we got to get out of here, man. So here's what happened. I talked to an alien, and when that freaking grid opens up in a hole in the sky, that's where you go. Come on, man. It's raining narcissists. So how was this matrix created, Wes? As we discussed in Chapter 11, there is no other way to figure out what is really going on unless we look at our situation from the perspective of living in a simulation or a computer game. Not until we do that do the dots truly connect. All right, I'll play. With this in mind, the following conclusions become natural to me, and perhaps something for the reader to ponder. If the reader is of the older generation, you may not have played computer games, but you probably have an idea of how they work. If we incorporate a computer game mindset into our own 3D existence, and for argument's sake, think in terms of computer games when reading through this chapter, it will be easier to comprehend. Okay. I'm just going to make a little side note right here. So he's talking about there's no heart in this world, and now everything in this world is a computer game. It's all this mental program. There's no heart here. None. It doesn't exist. And once you realize that, you'll be able to survive and protect yourself and play this game better. You ready? The inventor, programmer, and technician is, of course, Inky. The players are us, the humans, the spirit bodies. And the avatars inside the game are the human bodies with our trapped soul, energies, and minds inside them. We often hear, particularly from channeled material, that all time is simultaneous and linear time is just an illusion. However, this is next to impossible to fully understand unless we think in terms of simulations in computer games. In a computer game, all time can be simultaneous, and a programmer can create a game just like our Matrix, where the player, the spirit, you, has more than one avatar in the game. One avatar can operate in the 21st century, for example, another in the 16th century, while a third is in the 25th century, and so on. These avatars must meet the challenge for their particular wheel of time in the 16th century, for instance, say. So you, the player, have different avatars you can interchangeably interact with, but the avatars in the game don't know that. They think they are the only avatar run by your consciousness. And as we can see now, there is really no linear time, just time loops, or wheels within wheels, where the past, present, and future change all the time because all time is active simultaneously, played out by different avatars having parts of our consciousness attached. I would even argue, philosophically speaking, of course, that when we sleep, we rest our avatar, or our physical body in this time loop, and navigate another avatar in another time loop. Let's say in the 16th century. We might sleep for 8 hours, but in the astral, from where this game is most likely run at the next level, time is irrelevant. It might feel as if our dreams might last for an hour and sometimes for days or years, when in fact, we are somewhere else in the game while we sleep, playing, and because it's done from the astral, time is not consequential. In the meanwhile, our sleeping avatar gets recharged like a battery, getting ready for another day in this particular time loop. All right, I'll bite on that one. So far, so good. So we have discussed already that the soul gets split in the between lives area and sent into different pockets in time. And that's exactly what we are talking about here. It's part of how this game works. Let's say the inventor or programmer and technician wants to insert something new to the game or remove something. He can easily do that. And this is where vertical time comes into the picture. From a place outside the Earth game, he, or Inky, removes a civilization or creates a new one just by inserting it into a chosen time loop within the game, even though it might not have been there before. And therefore, there is no real history, only an invented one. We learn that certain things happened in the past is set in stone, and things happen in a linear fashion. But the past is constantly changing because the game is always active in the past, too. We can picture this as a long line with lots of wheels drawn on it to make it simple. Each wheel is a time loop in which avatars live and die and interact with their environment. But there is little to no connection between the wheels except when a person's lifetime overlaps into the next wheel or loop. All right, I'll buy that so far, but let's say I go back in time to when I was 12 years old. I'm 12 years old, turning 13 years old. I'm going to my first junior high school dance. Never been to a dance. Sounds exciting. Just starting to feel all these crazy things for girls. Never been there. Stop me if you've heard this one. So I'm really nervous. I've been talking about it to my dad all week. Super nervous. I get there. I take off my starter jacket because at the time starter jackets were cool. You remember those? Maybe that didn't happen. And I start looking at the 3, maybe 4 girls that I want to dance with, that I've been kind of buddies with or whatever. Prospects, you know what I mean? Which one do I like the most? Which one am I scared to dance with the most? All these crazy feelings. A freaking history teacher is so lame. He's playing YMCA and stupid crap. Like, he's not even playing the music I like. All of a sudden, one of the kids that I've hated my entire life walks up to me. And he says, "What's up, Joe?" I don't really hate him. He's just been a punk to me ever since I was a kid. "Sorry about your mom." I said, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, my bad, bro." I said, "No, what are you talking about? Sorry about your mom. I don't know. What are you talking about?" "Well, I'm not going to say anything." "Okay. All right. Don't say nothing. You know." But then I start feeling something's up. So I start forcing him to answer me. "What are you talking about?" I back him all the way into a corner and pin him against the wall. "What happened?" "Oh, your mom died." "I shouldn't have told you that." My cousin finds out that the way I found out my mom died was a kid that I hated my entire life. That's how I found out. My dad didn't tell me because he wanted to wait until the dance was over because I'd been talking about it all week. I was excited. He didn't want to ruin that for me. So you're telling me that didn't happen, or that's not really real, or it's a construct. Is that what you're saying? That didn't happen. Maybe it's just a form of reality or another avatar. Right? I understand what you mean by time is in the present that is now and all that, you know. I get that. Everything is this ultimate now. But here on Earth, we have a linear time for a reason that is dialed in by the sun and the moon for a reason that just like all the plants and trees and everything, just like our human bodies grow and die, like everything in nature for a reason. We don't need to understand the universe. We need to live while we're living here so that we can grow our souls through our body and experience everything here. So if you're asking me to look at everything that's happened in my past and all of the people that I love and every pain and pleasure in my life, like, I don't know. It just wasn't real. Or it's a video game. That's how I should survive. This is all bullshit, man. I mean, I'm sure we could survive this way, like Spock. So let's say that the inventor or the programmer and technician wants to insert something new to the game. But there is little to no connection between these wheels except when a person's lifetime overlaps into the next wheel or loop. Thus, progress can be made across the lines of time. We normally also reincarnate within the same bloodline, as we talked about earlier. So the consciousness splinter of a certain avatar progresses through the time wheel loops, giving an illusion of linear time. I wonder if that's true. That could be true. So When the inventor of the game programmed it, he put in some basic things to begin with in each loop, challenges for players to meet. So then let's say the end goal of the game is the singularity, which will be a completely new game. So he inserts the singularity to start in 2045 in the illusory timeline he is manipulating the players to believe in. Thus we have our Alpha and Omega, which is God Uriel. And the game started 9,600 years ago and will end in 2045 if everything goes per the plan. Then the new game starts, which is called Metaverse, or the Singularity. Also, let's pretend that all the players start the game from the beginning of time in this third construct. The avatars in the game, or we humans, have complete amnesia and don't know who we are. We bring children into the world and we become generational. We overlap into the next wheel, each wheel being 2,156 years long, based on astrological cycles and equinoxes. Thus, each time loop becomes populated, one after the other, and humankind as a species slowly moves towards the singularity. But when a physical body dies, the consciousness soul mind goes to the between life area, and most of it is then recycled into a new body on Earth, and the consciousness now becomes their own great-grandson, for example. Well, that's kind of a cool concept. I think that would be cool. Thus, time seems to move forward, and the same consciousness moves forward towards the end game, the singularity. However, because the soul is also split in the between lives area, part of the soul mind is simultaneously recycled into other loops, wheels to keep the game going and constantly changing in all loops of time. This creates confusion and diversion, which is exactly the purpose of Inky wants us to keep us confused. Man, see, he says a bunch of cool shit, and then that last 10% again. It's because Inky's doing it to confuse us. Man, why couldn't you have just said, hey, consciousness created it that way because it needs more entropy? Like, I wonder if this guy's even looked at Thomas Campbell's work, who I consider to be much more intelligent than this. I want everybody that I don't care, all 10 of you that's listening to this, okay? Like, I want every one of you guys to, like, check out Thomas Campbell's work on his theory of everything, which is still like a simulation, but it does involve the soul, love, and all this other stuff a hell of a lot more, even more logically than this. Because there's no gods or goddesses or archetypes that we can blame for things or things like that in his theory. And we're talking about a man who brought science into the realms of conscious exploration and was probably one of the hardcorest void walkers on the face of the earth. He didn't spend time sulking in his, like, bad feelings. He didn't spend time. I'm sure he's like any other human, feels bad, but he spent most of his life following his passion to exploring consciousness to see if his theory was correct. But not for the reasons that we read about this kind of stuff, but for the reasons as an adventure to explore the unknown, because it was fascinating, not a prison or not some kind of crazy prison game, but because life and light in this whole process was so fascinating, he had to know more. I hope everybody that's listening to this is listening to me to please look into both Thomas Campbell's. Well, let's put three people on the table here. If you're going to think simulation, Thomas Campbell, William Buellman, Robert Monroe. None of these guys have any spiritual thing. You don't hear them talk about what they believe, God's created what, or any of that shit. They just explore consciousness, and they eliminate variables, and they test their theories, and they get their asses out there and explore consciousness again and again and again and again. Go check them out. We got to take a radio station break. We are almost to the end of this text. So close. Because I am ready. And I'm got to tell you, Gareth, I really want to, I'm curious about your experiences when you woke up in the hospital. Like, man, what did those alien beings look like? Because I have a little bit of an experience like that when I was a kid. Like right as I was waking up, it seemed like from a dream. Kind of the same thing. I wasn't angry, but I was kind of surrounded by beings that looked like that. Lots of people had that experience, haven't they? We're live on the Fringe FM. It's a little after 10 o'clock here in the Central Time, a little after 11 on the East Coast. And if you can support the Fringe FM, please do so. Thank you, Barney. Thank you, Michael, for your support tonight. And we'll be right back. Right.
All over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
Please insert 25 cents for another hour of this program.
Bumper stickers are a fun side hustle with low-cost investment that has built-in advertising to attract local customers in parking lots, rallies, gatherings, conventions, venues, and more. You could potentially sell these bumper stickers on consignment to local businesses, tattoo parlors, head shops, or any other independently owned store that might gear toward the Fringe. Bumper stickers are great gift-giving ideas for friends and family. Also, a way to wake up your fellow travelers on the path without having to waste energy in tiresome debates. No car? No problem. Bumper stickers will stick to just about anything with a semi-smooth surface. Go to www.justbsme.com and get your bumper stickers today.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
This is Malorcas45, fan of the Fridge FM, challenging everyone to open their mind's eye. Listen to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop to gain precision for your third eye vision.
Olivia from Washington. Laid off and trying to keep our little kids from realizing that mommy and daddy haven't eaten in a while.
Roger from California. I'm grateful we could afford our son's surgery. I'm nervous that now we can't really afford food.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Keisha from South Carolina. I've been skipping meals so my 2 kids can eat, but filling up on water doesn't really work.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Hello, my name's Tim Doyle, lead member of investigations for UFO seekers. I've spent the last 5 years in the field investigating UFO sightings and the topic of aliens. But after getting back to headquarters, when I'm finished reviewing footage, and after videos are uploaded, when I open my iPhone to start streaming,
my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Yeah, that was the very first intro that I made for the show back in like 2015. I found all the old ones. So obviously, if you're listening live on the Fringe FM or the TalkStream Live or the Paranormal Radio app, or if you're listening on YouTube, wherever you're listening from, I can see all your dots if you're listening on the Fringe FM. And I think I can see your dots if you're listening on the other apps. I'm not sure how that works. Or if you're masking yourself because you're worried who's listening. Thank you all for joining us. Now, obviously, this isn't a show just to do a brush up on the show itself. So I don't seem like I'm coming off a little strong, but I get irritated sometimes because this isn't a show to verify your fears about life or your feelings or to even make you feel a certain way or to confirm your biases or whatever. This is a show about exploring the unknown in the most positive sense of the word. It is a little scary, but that's it. That's all. And the rest of it is an adventure. And that's the way it should be looked at. And if you do look at it that way, then I will consider you one of us. You can join our cult. of void walkers, right? And then once again, just to let you know why I'm reading this book is because a friend of ours, a void walker, who read this book as he came into being diagnosed with ALS. Naturally, it's easy for us to confirm our fears when our mind is seeking them. You ever notice that? You have to do this as a, well, I don't want to recommend this experiment unless you got the guts for it, but do it as a conscious explorative experiment. Find something that you're afraid of and focus on it for a while. Hell, make a sigil out of it. Empower it. If you got the guts to do it, to see just how much it'll be confirmed in your reality. Whether it's the books you read, the things you see, the movies that come on to television, the songs that you hear, the people that you run into, the conversations that you have, the thoughts that you have. The unconscious is so powerful, it's insane. And you can do the opposite as well and become extremely passionate about something and positive and fun-loving and all this other stuff. And guess what? If you focus on love, it has the same effect. See, Earl Nightingale taught us this a long time ago about when we plant a seed. It doesn't really matter. It depends. When we plant a seed in our garden of the mind, it's how we treat that seed as to what grows in the mind and what grows in our reality. Because in my opinion, and from my experience, it's all connected. All of us, everything, it's all like one kind of thing. Could be a matrix, but there is no getting out of the fact that we're all going to die. I'd hope that we've all come to terms with that, and if you haven't come to terms with it, you should do so at some point, somehow. It's entirely up to you how you do that. I'm not going to tell you how to do that because that's a whole other adventure. Like Peter Pan says, right? To die would be a great adventure. I have the deepest feeling that it's just another massive transformation that consciousness goes through. And based on how you lived in the soil of your body is what happens to your soul, what we call the soul, next. Based on who you were as a person, based on how you lived, how you treated things, energetically, to speak, Not to shame or worry about judgment or eternal damnation or any of that shit, but let's just call it an energy game. Just look, because in nature, everything else is just an energy game, right? It really is. So, why would we assume that we're any different? So if we put all of our energy into the idea that we're in a prison planet, then what are we going to be born into next? Think about a baby in the womb. Focus on that. Maybe it's in a dream state. Maybe it's in its own little matrix as it's in this womb, whatever you want to call it. And it doesn't know what's going to happen next. I'm pretty sure that that's kind of the same thing that's going to happen to us. In fact, it would almost be like ironic, in my opinion, if Wes here, when he dies, doesn't go anywhere, but as soon as he dies, that he just pops out again as another baby. Death pops out again. Starts to feel like a prison after a while until you start looking at it in a different sense of the word. Then maybe you might get to experience some of this other stuff that we're supposed to experience that we don't know what it's about. But I got a feeling it's something like that. All right, so we're going to look at what he says about healing. This is not a philosophy book. He thinks it is, but to me, it's madness. So our soul mind is split in the BLA, only to incarnate into different pockets of time. Eventually, after we have exited in the shape we will be in after this lifetime, we will reunite with our spirit body, which has been the player in the Matrix game. So if you're John Smith in this life, that's who you will be immediately after you've exited too. You'll also retain the memories from earlier lifetimes, experienced by the same soul mind that is now John Smith. Also, consequently, and over time, you'll retrieve the soul mind, splinters from what used to be you, but was incarnated in other time periods as a separate individual or separate individual units of consciousness, and you eventually become whole. The question is, who will you be when you are whole? You're no longer John Smith. Instead, you will be everything you have experienced on your own timeline, as well as the timelines of those who became splinters of you. This means you have been a good person during certain lifetimes and a bad person in others. It's a huge mix, and you will be all of that when everything is retrieved. This is another very important reason why we need to work on healing. When you heal your present personality, you also heal across the lines of time. You will heal your past and your future at the same time. If you were a criminal 200 years ago and heal your present personality, you'll also heal the criminal version of yourself. Literally so. Well, wait a minute. This is counterproductive, though, or counterintuitive, not productive, because I think it was last Thursday you said that there is no way to heal on this earth. But you are saying, okay, you can never fully heal on this earth, but you can heal all of your fractured consciousness selves if you're literally just a good person. Doesn't make any sense. This criminal version of you will have a change in mindset and repent once you have healed enough. There's that word. As you may remember, time is arbitrary and nothing is set in stone. Time is fluid and events ever changing. Can you see how beneficial this is? The more you heal in this lifetime, the better off you will be in the Ka when you have become your entire self, which will be different, but still the same as your current John Smith. You ever get the feeling that this guy just doesn't experience any pleasure in his life whatsoever? Like anything. Oh, he's going to talk about channeled entities here. So we often hear that channeled entities are us in the future, and they have come to warn us or help us with our progress, or so they say. But what does it mean when they are us in the future? Well, keep that in mind, what we've discussed so far. Let's say that a part of our consciousness or a soul splinter who is trapped in the matrix or already entered the singularity hundreds of years ago, according to the rule set of the matrix when it comes to time. And perhaps there has been more than one singularity. I know this might be confusing, but bear with me while we connect the dots. Those who know about Barbara Marcianak's Palladians and have listened to them to some extent know that they tell us that they have come here to change a certain timeline by changing our way of thinking. They do that by educating us, they say. They claim that they are us in the future, which I believe they are. They are warning us about the machine kingdom or the singularity, and they tell us to avoid it from happening because it's happened before. We humans become cyborgs here on Earth in our 3D reality. Bryce, are you still listening to this? This is so crazy because I just got through watching, if you haven't seen Battlestar Galactica and you're not a space nerd, you need to watch it because it's kind of cool. Because basically that's what he's talking about. They kind of add their astrological story into it and a little bit of occultism, but it's essentially pretty cool. So when we entered the machine kingdom, where our minds were and what we now call metaverse, Inky thought he had made it, and soon we would also be his mind property, helping him to get into Orion, the real spirit universe, the Ka, the only part of the Orion universe that is not a simulation. However, something went wrong, according to the Palladians. We turned against our own creator, and within metaverse, where we could nano-travel, we all went to the Pleiades, where we heard Inky has a stronghold, and we invaded it. And since then, we have ruled the Pleiades and the previous metaverse, and created a tyranny there from the Pleiadians' perspective. Now, Inky could not stop that from happening because once someone has made up their mind and doesn't respond to manipulation and mind control anymore, the controller can do nothing. Now the Palladians are back here, channeling through Barbara, trying to make us change our minds so the tyranny won't happen because they want us to override it by changing the outcome of the game. Do you think this Palladians, like, that he's talking about is his actual insider that he's claiming to have? That's actually from another person claiming to have talked to the Palladians? The Palladians don't need a multitude of followers, just a certain number of dedicated humans who can just slightly change the timeline, enough to change the outcome of the previous singularity. After all, this universe is based on free will, even in simulations. So, the players, or we humans, are the ones who decide the outcome of the game. The previous singularity, get out of here, was populated by splinters of our current soul minds. So if we, who live now, change our minds according to the Palladians, we also affect the soul splinters from the prior singularity. And everything affects everything else in the game. And we do in the present, whatever we do in the present, affects past and future alike. This is what they hope will happen. So it will stop the human rebellion that happened in the previous singularity by our own current actions. Here's something interesting. The Palladians say their teacher is Enki, and they report to him and are graded for how they are channeling progress. The Palladians claim they are rebels who secretly meet and channel through Barbara. This is another conspiracy. Conspiracies on top of conspiracies. The manipulation goes deeper. But why do the Palladians want us to avoid the singularity? Does Enki not want us to go into the singularity? Isn't that the end game? Without the singularity, how can we invade Orion? Well, he still wants the singularity. He just wants us to change our mindset enough as a soul group not to invade the Pleiades and metaverse. I think this is where authors like Zachariah Stitchin comes into the picture. Stitchin was a forerunner, spreading disinformation about the gods, and he portrayed Enki as the better god and Enlil as the bad one. The Palladians do the same thing, including promoting Stitchin's work. They put Enki on top as our savior and benefactor, while Enlil, or Marduk, or Satan, interchangeably so, Enki, through the Palladians, want us to think of him as the good guy. We see Stitchin's influence in the New Age community, where Enki is considered our creator and the good god. This is exactly the plan. Oh, the plot thickens. This, Enki thinks, will be enough to change the timeline. He knows very well that regardless of that the Palladians warn us about, the singularity, humankind will still get trapped in it. All roads lead to Rome, the singularity. Except the holes in the grid, right? Don't forget about the holes in the grid. Enki is not concerned. He just wants to change the timeline. So, when the current humanity enters metaverse, this time around, things will be different. We will look kindlier upon Enki. And he hopes to manage and control the entire human soul group, or at least the parts that enters the cloud. Except the ones that escape don't have to worry about it. So what gives even more meat to this theory is the Palladians' reaction in one of their sessions, after a person in the audience mused that maybe soon we can all leave Earth and go to the stars. The Palladians got irritated and said, and I paraphrase, "You are going nowhere." Holy shit. That bug flew right in my eyeball. "You stay here. You are children of nature. And here on Earth is where you belong." Have any of you guys heard this? Like, is this like on the audio? I'm going to look this up. It's your home. Obviously, they don't want us to leave the Matrix. Other known channeled entities saying they are us in the future are the Ra Collective and Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka. Yeah, but how do we know any of this is real, man? Just because people are channeling it, like you're deciding what's real, Bashar's real, or that's the real truth, but this Barbara one's not, like... Is there a chapter in here where he's explored this stuff consciously, I wonder? Besides just kind of intellectually experiencing or making all this up. Who then are the Palladians? Are the Palladians in all this, and why are they working with Enki if they are part of the human group who attacked the Pleiades? Well, Enki and these rebels have a common goal, which is to stop the tyranny. So these Palladians, or humans in the future, cooperated with the creator of the Matrix, the chief architect. I think the Pleiadians know about the holes in the grid and that there is an escape, but they can't go there because they won't be welcome in Orion because of who they are. As we shall see, they just want an end to what they call the tyranny we humans have created in an earlier metaverse. Enki, a trickster god. A trickster god. Why didn't you know what he should have claimed? What he should have called this book is A Trickster God by Wes Penry. A narcissistic trickster god by Wes Penry. But no one would have read it if you call it that, right? Think about it. These Pleiadian rebels report to Enki, who are usually reporting to Enki. Who are the people that usually report to Enki? The global elite? Oh, shit, here we go. I think there is a fair chance the Pleiadians are the global elite, high up in the hierarchy. They're aliens among us. The global elite, not having amnesia, also insert parts of themselves in the metaverse because they must in order to control us and eventually leave the matrix through us. Thus, they invested some of their soul energy into metaverse the last time around by inserting soul splinters into the metaverse. And once the invasion of Orion happens, they can withdraw their soul mind from the matrix and reunite with their own spirit bodies, which also reside in the Ka, just like ours. And remember, the global elite are also spirited humans like us. Then they can follow the rest of the human overlord armies to the inner sanctuary of Orion. Can you imagine reading this to your... Can you imagine reading this to your like 10-year-old kid as, Dad, Mom, read me a story? Oh, I'm going to read you a story, son, called The Narcissistic Trickster God. As he goes to sleep. Remember, son, the global elite are also spirited humans like us. Then they can follow the rest of the human overlord army to the inner sanctuary of Orion, take over reality, and destroy us from the inside out. Good night, y'all. What the hell? I think I got a new idea. Like, I got an idea. I got a good idea. The issue is that we humans digress from the overlord instigated predestined path when we in Metaverse attacked the Pleiades. The important thing is not that we invaded the Pleiades as a soul group. It's that the elite and Enki himself lost control over our minds. I even doubt we created a tyranny in the Pleiades. Some of us probably went there, and we might have taken it over just to keep Enki and the elite residing in the metaverse, captured there, so they can't do more harm. It's all a battle over our minds until it will escalate into a battle of our spirit. But he doesn't talk about, like, how we take it over. Is this the war with guns? Like, do we take it over just by showing up and sitting on the, we're here? Like, how does this takeover happen? I mean, let's get down to it, man. We can make a series out of this stuff and sell it to Netflix. So the human soul group stuck in Metaverse saw through at least some of the plan and attacked their creator and his minions. When we discovered the truth about the global elite, we might have tried to capture them, and they fled to the Pleiades, where Enki has a stronghold in the real universe, but also in the Metaverse, which will be a copy of the Matrix, which is a copy of Orion. But humans followed them there and took over much of the star constellation. All right. I'm almost done with this for the night. I can't take any more. Enki didn't expect the attack. Remember that his purpose is to completely control the entire soul group. How did we take it over, man? Like when we got there, did we charge the metaverse of the Pleiades and we just start saying, we're here, all of us, we're here, the humans, and we're here to stay. And we pulled out our spiritual machine guns. We just started shooting the place up and we said, we're here. We're going to be victims no longer, and some lady that's lived 1,000 lives that kept reincarnating in this prison planet pulled out her spiritual handgun and shot one of the Pleiades in the head. Like, is that what happened? You're being very vague here. This is poopy. I don't like it. The Pleiadians are not happy with their own work, and they are concerned they have failed on their mission. They were asked by someone in their audience in the beginning of the 2013 session how it was going, and the Pleiadians said they did not achieve the goal they had set up for us by 2012. However, it seems they are not giving up yet, but will continue channeling through Barbara, still hoping to achieve their goal, although the nanosecond, 1987 to 2012, is a decade old as of this writing. If we think long and hard, there is good news lurking in all this. Inky has failed before, and he may potentially fail again to bring the human soul group together, albeit when we look around us, it doesn't look good. Still, when it boils down to it, after having entered the metaverse the last time, we managed not to go along with them. To me, that gives even those who will soon enter the singularity a chance to get out one day, and it gives Orion more room to operate. Holy shit. So we got skin jobs walking around as the elite who can just take off their masks and reveal themselves as Inky's cohorts, the Pleiades. That's who they are. Right? Like, man. Skin jobs. That's what he should have named this book. The narcissistic creator god and his skin jobs. Why does it all boil down to that? You're mad, man. You're just mad. In so many ways. Aren't you? Why don't you pick up the phone, pick up your cell phone, open up, they got all these new dating apps. Shave, put on a shirt. They have apps that will match you to the music that you like to listen to, match you to your spiritual beliefs, apps that you can date people that believe in all of this stuff, and just find somebody to hang out with and talk to and stop being afraid of people. Just pick up a dating app. Stop scaring the shit out of everybody. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to recreate Wes Penry's world in an audio format as an Orson Welles project. And I'm going to broadcast it across the Fringe universe. And people are going to think it's really happening. Like when Orson Welles said the Martians were invading us, you know. I'm not saying like, and the phone lines are open, by the way, if you want to call in. It's 501-777-5631. I'm not saying that this planet wasn't seeded. Obviously, it could have been. But there are all kinds of, like, there's too many variables here. Perhaps, did it ever occur to you or anybody, or, you know, I don't want to be the obvious jerk here, but did it ever occur to you that some people believe their delusions so much that, I don't know, they weren't really channeling anything at all, but they believed they were. They believed like they have the ultimate answers to reality. You have to ask yourself, how does a person come to know that they have a message for all of humanity? Could you, and I mean you, the listener, could you tell yourself that you have a great message for humanity? Any of you? And if you really heard that message in your mind, would you question it, or would you just do it immediately out of faith? How would you do it? Would you present it as channeled material? Like, I think a lot of this stuff needs to be, I'm just saying, questioned on a rational level psychologically before we get into any of the, you know, realities of the situation here. Okay? How much conscious exploration has Wes Penry done? How often does he meditate? Has he taken any psychedelics? Has he tried to have an out-of-body experience? We don't know these things. All we know so far is that there are, once again, it's just another story about skin jobs being run by a different creator, narcissistic trickster god. Although I think it's all bullshit. I'm going to finish this book probably, let's see, not tonight, but the next time I read this book will end. And I hope that our brother Gareth will exhale. Because whatever you're going to experience, all of us are going to experience on the other side of this life is nothing to be afraid of. I honestly think that the birthing process is a lot more traumatic than anything we're going to have to experience or deal with when it comes to the transformation out of this human body. I don't think we need to worry about leaving through some hole or going to a tunnel. I think if you have love in your heart and entire faith in yourself and you don't go into this whole thing with fear and you keep an open mind and an open heart the entire time and learn to observe, I think you're going to be fine. I do. Of course, I am no wizard myself, so I don't know. I just have a feeling. One of those good old redneck Arkansan feelings that you're going to be all right. Let's go to the chat. Why not? Let's see what people are saying. What's up, Starseed? What's up, Justin Sane? I like listening to the Zachariah Stitchin stories, too. I think changing, Genevieve says, I think changing from this life to the next is profound, except maybe to come here. The religious aesthetics were like this too. They despised corporeal life. Yeah, religion did kind of despise life, didn't they? They looked at it as some kind of like cancer or sickness or something, you know. Hi, all Justin Sane says, you can't even take this seriously. I don't take it seriously whatsoever. Good night, Michael. See you later, brother. I would have loved this as a Starseed Awakening says, I would have loved this as story time at bed growing up. Life would have made way more sense. It would have made more sense for me too, you know, except I got read biblical stories growing up. I'm hearing the Star Wars theme in my head. Yeah. There's a really good 8-hour story of Zachariah Stitchin's story on YouTube. I might listen to that when I go to bed tonight. I like Stitchin's story, whether it's real or not. It's cool to listen to. Starseed says, I know we go on galactic missions. Honestly, we really need to seriously get strong in the astral travel. I don't know about the galactic missions, but I do think you're right about that second part. The Matrix isn't for us. We are awake. We got to do the work. Yeah, I mean, realistically, whatever the reality is, we need to, just like going to the gym, whatever, like if you're afraid, whatever you're afraid of, just do some weights, right? Like lift your astrological muscles, what do you want? Let's call them your astral muscles, like practice more conscious exploration, more meditation, more scrying, more out-of-body experiences. I'm not saying don't become like an opium den where you don't live on this earth, you know, and you just, it's like Inception where all you care about is conscious exploration. You might as well be just playing video games 24/7 if you're going to do that, but do some workouts, right? I think we should. I like, I'm with, like, who was it that called in last week? Bert. Man, almost felt bad for a minute. Like, true conscious exploration, most people that do it, there are way more questions than there are answers. Way, way more. Somebody asked this earlier, who are the three names I mentioned? Robert Monroe, Thomas Campbell, and William Buhlman. Buhlman is spelled, let me make sure I spell this right. Get their books, like watch their YouTube videos, listen to what they're saying. Tell me if that doesn't line up with your experience of all of your conscious explorations, a hell of a lot more than this fear stuff. Buhlman, Buhlman. His website is at astralinfo.org. I'll leave all the links to this too. Thomas Campbell. Right? Thomas Campbell's website, I think, is, mybigtoe.com. my-big-toe.com, or My Big Theory of Everything. And of course, Robert Monroe would be the Monroe Institute. Or better yet, his 3 books on his experiences of conscious exploration and all of his programs that he did. It's all over the internet. It's all there to study. Like, if you really want to figure this stuff out, you have to be willing to study all of it and then do your own conscious explorations yourself. Otherwise, you just like to hear stories that verify your fears or your biases to what you think feels good or is correct. I personally fall in love with the mystery of it all. I like the unknown when it comes to it. In fact, I'll also, like, maybe I just do this on purpose, because if someone did give me the reality, I would just, I'd be like, there goes lighting the void. It's over. But no, I think if you hadn't heard Joe Rogan's podcast with what's his face, Terrence, you should listen to that. Even though I wouldn't pay so much attention to the math, like what's 0 and 1 and all that stuff. I've heard that. My uncle used to tell me that stuff, man, when I was a kid, right? Like, same kind of crazy stuff, There is no 0, or 1 times 1 isn't really 1. And like, we've had these arguments since we're in kindergarten. It's ridiculous. Everybody thinks they're a genius until you beat them in chess, and then they say the board is backwards, right? But his stuff about the curvatures of Earth and how we don't take things as a whole or into consideration, or charge and discharge, or the electromagnetic fields and how they recreated Saturn into that software programming using physics and everything else without gravity, was truly awesome. You got to at least check that part out. I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because we're talking about a guy here that thinks that toilet paper is terrible for humanity. Might have beat up on his wife a few times. I don't know. Every time I talk to somebody about this interview, that's what I hear about. So maybe he did. Who knows? But I really think you guys should check that out, where he's talking about that. Or Dr. Claude Swanson, any of his work talking about toroidal fields, and anybody's work talking about the electric universe, and just look into it and see how it makes a little bit more sense. Not asking you to take it as reality at all, whatsoever. But check it out. Do this stuff for yourself. I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson can present everything so well. So can any great presenter, any great, I guess you could say, orator of information. Anybody that knows how to present and articulate information very well, we humans tend to trust, because it sounds smarter than we are, so we have to trust it. It just sounds right. But I'm telling you not to do that, no matter what. And check it out for yourself, because you're probably a lot smarter than you think you are. Most of you. Some of you, I don't know, but most of you. All right. Thank you guys that have supported the Fringe FM tonight. Michael and Barney and whoever else did. Really appreciate it, because we're coming to the end of the month. We always need it then, so we can keep the Fringe FM, the radio station, going, so we can say whatever the hell we want, play what we want, and say what we want, and try to keep things on high vibrations and far out frequencies here on the Fringe FM. We'll be back tomorrow night. Same time, same channel. I love each and every one of you. I hope you know that. And I mean that. I don't ever say that just so you'll believe it. Like, I really do. You guys are my family. You're my lovers, my brothers, my sisters, my father, my mother. All that stuff Jesus said, that's who you are to me. But for real, good night, y'all. Sweet dreams. Let's put this one on.
Take a step towards me, you will take my breath away. So I'll keep you close and keep my secret safe. No one else has ever loved me, no one else has ever tried. I never understood how much I could take. Then I saw the worst was over when I laid my eyes on you. It was all that I could do to know my place. Out of all the past illusions, out of all the dreams come true, I was gone until I finally saw your face. If you cry